had severe weather last night. Dangerous enough to get some sort of shelter.
Good evening. We'll call the Common Council back to order. We'll ask our clerk to call the roll to once again determine a quorum.
Alderperson Chapletsky.
Here.
Haas.
Here.
Lysick.
Here.
May.
Here.
Probst.
Here.
Reinke.
Here.
Rote.
Here.
Vitale.
Here.
Weigel.
Here.
9 present, 1 excused.
We have a quorum, nobody left. Administration and Finance Committee, Alderman Vitale.
Mr. Mayor,
Wait, could we fly?
it's a short one here. For your reference, I have one resolution, item 5, and communication, item 6. Mr. Mayor, I move for adoptions, and item 6 to place on file. Mr. Mayor, I shall move.
Second.
There's a motion with a second by Alderman May. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Alderperson Chapletsky.
Aye.
Haas.
Aye.
Lysick.
Aye.
May.
Aye.
Probst.
Aye.
Reinke.
Aye.
Rote.
Aye.
Vitale.
Aye.
Weigel.
Aye.
9 in favor, none opposed.
Motion carries.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Next, we have the Public Works Committee, Alderman Weigel.
Mayor Devine.
During recess, the Public Works Committee met and passed various resolutions and one communication. Item number 7 is a resolution that was adopted on a vote of 3-1 with 1 excused. Items 8 through 17 were all resolutions that were adopted unanimously. And item 18 was a communication that was adopted and, approved and placed on file. Everybody voting, the vote on that was also unanimous with 1 alderman being excused all evening. I'd like to move approval of tonight's Public Works report.
Second.
Do you want to do item 7 separately because it was split?
Oh, okay. Okay, so move approval of items 8 through 18.
Okay.
You want to call yours?
Okay, the motion is to approve items 8 through 18.
Second.
And a second by Alderman Probst. Is there any discussion? Okay, seeing none. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Alderperson Chapletsky.
Aye.
Haas.
Aye.
Lysick.
Aye.
May.
Aye.
Probst.
Aye.
Reinke.
Aye.
Rote.
Aye.
Vitale.
Aye.
Weigel.
Aye.
9 in favor, none opposed.
And then I'll go back to item number 7 and move approval of that.
I'll second.
There's a motion with a second by Alderman Haas. Is there any discussion?
Mayor Devine,
Alderman Chapletsky.
this is approving to get money to paint a bridge that we don't own, that there's tremendous liabilities for, and I just can't see why we should be, first of all, spending taxpayer dollar. Yes, it's block grant money, it's taxpayer dollar, and putting our public out to the eventually could get sued for millions because the railroad doesn't want to fix their bridge. I mean, yes, it's going to make it look better by us painting it, but at what cost? You know, I think that we'd be making a mistake and we're wasting city money if we vote in favor of this. I urge everybody to vote against it.
Thank you, Alderman Chapletsky. Any other discussion?
Mayor Devine.
Alderman Weigel?
This specific item is about repainting the railroad bridge over Greenfield Avenue around 104th Street. The railroad is not obligated to do what you might call maintenance or cosmetic improvements. They are obligated to do safety improvements. I think everybody knows that bridge is pretty hideous. Also, with the detours connected to the Zoo Interchange project, we're going to see a lot of new traffic on Greenfield Avenue, people who maybe not normally driving down Greenfield Avenue. We're talking about cleaning up our image wherever possible. You know, this would probably still be done this year, so it'll be likely done by a private contractor who will have insurance. Alderman Chapletsky mentioned the liability. The railroad, in its wisdom, just imposes an onerous contract on everyone who does work on their property. It is just what the railroad does. We consulted with the city attorney. I have the highest faith in the city attorney's opinions. He said, yes, there is an added risk in this project, but it's not unbearable. And of course, any contract we have will have like the typical $5 million umbrella policy on this. So that was a reason I felt confident that we could vote in the affirmative on this item.
Thank you, Alderman Weigel. Any other discussion?
Mayor Devine.
Alderman Reike?
It's really unfortunate that the railroad won't and has chosen not to maintain this bridge. It is a definite eyesore in our community, and it is basically close to our entrance to our fair city. It looks shabby, and it should be painted. The funding for the railroad painting is out of block grant funds. So basically, our taxpayers probably, in the long run, pay for it. However, this funding will not be basically charged to the taxpayers.
Thank you, Alderman. Any
Mr. Mayor.
other discussion? Alderman Vitale?
This precludes some the, in overall, really, I agree with the questions of getting the bridge to get painted, but then on the other hand, we do have rules in regard to, our citizen or people, the homeowners, would tell them to, they have to fix their property or paint the trimming. I mean, to make the sturdy of their building looking good. And I understand there's rules and regulations, and it seems like we go back again. We talk about the laws. The laws are who the laws really are made for. You have laws made because the railroad, because it's more of federal operations, and direct, I mean, so it seems like they're not really liable to maintain some of the obstructions, say of a bridge that needs to be painted. And that's one thing that kind of upsets me. Why then we as a city, we're responsible to paint that without any reoccurrence? The same thing, it falls back some of the federal ruling that we have, like with, and I keep, just like a parakeet, repeat that, like a gun shops, it's the same thing. So that's a free country, a free, the constitutions, but how the constitution sometimes is applied to the citizen or a city government, really, that we don't have no recourses, really, because it's a railroad, we can't really do much about it. And that's why I vote against this, really. Not because I don't want to see beautify the city. I think that's what our goal is. But I don't really care some of the rules that come in our faces or within our city here that we have to face with. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Alderman Vitale. Any other discussion?
Mayor Devine,
Alderman May?
I appreciate the comments from the previous alderpersons. I know this is something that the mayor has pushed for a long time and has wanted to see. I know it's something I want to see done. I know, talking to Alderman Barzak, it's something he wants to see done as well. Greenfield Avenue corridor, we've got a new highway out there. We're seeing the dressing up of that hill at 894 and in Greenfield. We see this as another thing to, again, dress up the community in this area. And while I understand that there's some frustration here with the railroads, and I have to agree, it's extremely frustrating that we can't get a railroad to do this, but we have to remember railroads are protected by money from the 1800s and all the lobbyists that got those protections for the railroads. And quite frankly, there is absolutely nothing we as a city can do in recourse. We can whine and complain, but they're protected by federal government. We can't even control their train whistles. So at any rate, getting back to the whole painting, I will support this strongly. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Okay, seeing none, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Alderperson Chapletsky.
No.
Haas.
Aye.
Lysick.
Aye.
Me.
Aye.
Probst.
Aye.
Reinke.
Aye.
Rote.
Aye.
Vitale.
No.
Weigel.
Aye.
7 in favor, 2 opposed.
Motion carries.
Thank you, Mayor Devine.
Thank you, Alderman Weigel. Next, we have the Safety and Development Committee.
Mayor Devine.
Alderman Lysick.
I refer you to items 19, 20, and 24 through 29, various resolutions, communications, and an ordinance. The resolutions and ordinance were acted upon favorably by all 5 members for passage, the communications to be placed on file. I move for adoption of the committee report.
Second.
There's a motion with a second by Alderman Reinke. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Alderperson Chapletsky.
Aye.
Haas.
Aye.
Lysick.
Aye.
Me.
Aye.
Probst.
Aye.
Reinke.
Aye.
Rote.
Aye.
Vitale.
Aye.
Weigel.
Aye.
9 in favor, none opposed.
Motion carries.
That's all, Mayor Devine.
Thank you. Next, we have License and Health. Alderman Chapletsky.
Mayor Devine. First, I'd like to bring everyone's attention to item number 68, tonight's agenda. This is the, to vote on a license to go over quota for Chef Pa's Restaurant on National Avenue. It was voted for approval by 3 members, 1 member voting no, and 1 member excused. I'd like to move for the adoption of this portion of the committee's report.
Second.
Second.
There's a motion with a second by Alderman Lysick. Is there any discussion?
Mayor Devine.
Alderman Chapletsky.
The reasons for going over quota is that this is a award-winning destination restaurant which has received reviews from all over the country. And I believe that for us not allowing them to get a license, we just passed a license for Urban Joe's, and this place is a way bigger draw for our community and another bragging point for our community, way more than even Urban Joe's would be. So I think that we should approve this and get this through.
Thank you, Alderman Chapletsky. Is there any other discussion?
Mayor Devine?
Alderman May.
This one I'm very torn on. I think with Urban Joe, that was in our C1 district, and we had a lot of good reasons for allowing it in that C1. Mainly, it's a very small area of the city, in an entertainment area. This is in a C2, which affects a lot more of the city, and looking at the zoning map. If we allow this here, are we basically, are our hands tied? Are we forced to allow these in other C2 districts throughout, in which case should we just go with the state mandated quota instead of this, the 120 that we've got self-imposed? Again, I'm very torn on it. If
Mayor
someone can
Devine?
maybe clarify for me.
Mayor Devine?
President Lysick.
Quite frankly, I don't think the zoning in this particular case has anything to do with it. It's, we have taverns and restaurants located throughout the city in multiple zoning districts, and that doesn't really have any effect on the issuance of a license itself, as long as the use is permitted in the zoning district. Whether they have a license or not is up to us. I think the merits of the case of the applicant is what counts for applying for a license. And this is a destination restaurant. It is not a neighborhood tavern, which when the council passed the limitations on the number of licenses we were going to issue, we brought our own quota down. We lowered the quota ourselves to be less than what state law was a number of years back, to prevent the proliferation of neighborhood taverns in the city. And that was the whole intention of that particular action. And I don't know if it was a year or two ago, Alderman Sangstock and myself made a motion to, again, lower it by another 5 licenses because we were getting to the point where we would be able to issue licenses to neighborhood taverns again. This is not a neighborhood type of tavern usage. The restaurant has been there for, I don't know, 2 years now, I believe. It's a very good restaurant. They have certainly shown that they are not a tavern, that they are not a sports bar, that they're a legitimate restaurant. They make their money off of being a restaurant, not being a tavern. And this is just a convenience for Chef Paz to be able to introduce some Peruvian cocktails along with the Peruvian dinners. I don't see this as any different than going to a Mexican restaurant and asking for a margarita, or a Caribbean-based restaurant and getting Caribbean type of drinks. It goes along with that type of atmosphere. And if you've ever been to Chef Paz, you will know that it is not a tavern type of operation. So I think that this is well-deserved, and I think is exactly the kind of place that we want to give tavern licenses to.
Mayor Devine.
Alderman Probst.
I think that we need to make sure that we are looking at the big picture. I concur with everything Alderman Lysick said. And if we're looking at the picture of what we're doing with this beautification of the highway situation, us wanting to paint the railroad bridge, it's to improve our image. I believe restaurants like Chef Paz do exactly that. These are, again, destination restaurants. You're not going to find something like this somewhere else, and it's what brings you into West Allis. And maybe when you come in for that, you'll stop at Oscar's on your way home, and maybe some of our other businesses, or at Benno's for a fine beverage, or elsewhere down the block. So I just think that we have to keep our mind on what the big picture is and what we're all trying to do for West Allis, and I think that this would be a very good idea. It, again, not a neighborhood bar.
Thank you, Alderman Probst. Any other discussion?
Mayor Devine.
Alderman May.
And again, I mentioned I was on the fence. I think the reason that was given is a good one. I just want to make sure from our city attorney, is that reason, would that hold up? Other cases come forward?
Prognosticate on what would happen with a court challenge?
Yes.
I don't know, Alderman May. I can say that, when I look at it, with Urban Joe's, we had various reasons that we set out. It being a destination restaurant was not one of those reasons. It was located in a certain zoning district, so far from residents and an established restaurant and certain other things. Now we've changed it to it's a destination restaurant, and all those other considerations went by the wayside. So an argument can be made by whoever we deny down the road that we're making things up as we go along. On the other hand, those are all good, legitimate reasons to have made an exception for somebody. Where a court comes down on that, I don't know. There will be arguments on both sides. It's just, the more you make an exception for somebody, you generally have to make it for somebody else who fits those same criteria. So right now the criteria we're using is that it's a destination award-winning restaurant. If you get another one of those and you deny it, you'd be in really sad shape.
Ecuadorian.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Okay, seeing none, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Alderperson Chapletsky.
Aye.
Haas.
Aye.
Lysick.
Aye.
May.
Aye.
Probst.
Aye.
Ranky.
Aye.
Rote.
No.
Vitale.
Aye.
Weigel.
Aye.
8 in favor, 1 opposed.
Motion carries.
Then I'd like to report on items number 31 through 47, 54 and 55, 58 and 59, 63 through 67, and 69 and 70 on tonight's agenda. These are all voted to either place on file, approve subject to necessary requirements, or in the case of 69 and 70, to place on file and return the fees. I'd like to move for the adoption of the rest of the committee report.
Second.
There's a motion with a second by Alderman Probst. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. And next we have the advisory committee. Alderman
Mayor
Ranky.
Devine. I direct the council's attention to items number 71, 72, 73, and 74 on tonight's agenda, to communications and various reappointments, all approved by the committee. I move for their approval. Mayor Devine.
Second.
We have a motion, we have a second by Alderman Vitale. Any discussion? Seeing none, Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Alderperson Chapletsky. Hess.
Aye.
Lysick.
Aye.
Me.
Aye.
Probst.
Aye.
Ranky.
Aye.
Rote. Vitale.
Aye.
Weigel.
Aye.
9 in favor, none opposed.
Motion carries.
Is all, Mayor Devine.
Thank you. Before we adjourn, I just had one quick announcement. Last meeting, I know we had a revelation from one of our younger, I believe the term was cockier aldermen, about his unfortunate experience with the firefighters' CPAT agility test. And I just want to take this moment to politely remind him that our municipal judge passed that test at the age of 57 with flying colors.
Way to go, Paul.
That was 40 years ago. That test was like...
President Lysick?
Mayor Devine, I move that we adjourn until our next regularly scheduled meeting, Tuesday, July 1st at 7 PM.
Second.
We have a motion with a second by Alderman Vitale. Is there any discussion? All in favor?